This has been something I had been wanting to do for quite a long time now, but I just never really I didn't really know whether or not if I should do it. We are going to talk about Team RWBY today, and that's it. We're not going to be talking about like Juniper or any other characters. Just we're going to try out with RWBY and see how far and how well this goes. And if I like doing it, maybe I'll do more for Juniper. Maybe I'll do more for other series that I'm interested in. So first things first, we are going to be bringing up for Team RWBY, we are going to be talking about Ruby Rose. So we're going to be going through her designs from beginning, and then steadily go down the list in terms of like more recent designs and whatnot. First design. I gotta say, genuinely, I think this design is damn near perfect. I love the red and black motif that they went with her, the whole dress being black, and with these red accents scattered throughout on key points, with the cape being like a red background and everything, I feel is great. I think it helps keep the eye moving, and it doesn't like keep it necessarily just in one spot specifically. The colors are contrasting enough, but at the same time, they're also not too contrasting to the point where they feel like it hurts to look at them. No, it's like red and black is a great combination. I think is fantastic. I also love like the white or silver depending on it, right? I just love it genuinely as another like third color or whatnot. This is concept art, but then we also have Ruby Rose in Cross Tag Battle, which I think has her looking at her best. The artist for this genuinely like popped off. This is just playing around with the shades of red and black and silver and gray and whatnot. It looks just, again, I just love how these colors all come together. I also love, like, particularly with this this art, the pose it strikes. Also, for anyone wondering, yes, I am going to be using like either designs that were either made by Rooster Teeth or endorsed by Rooster Teeth. Anything that is like redesigns or fan-made redesigns, I'm not going to be doing that. But yeah, this design seems, I think, kind of a bit impractical for like combat, but at the same time, it's just like, it's just anime bullshit, so I can suspend my disbelief a little there. But genuinely, I think overall this design is fashionable, it's simple, it's effective. I think it gets across the point really well. Red has a great connotation to, I hope I'm using that word right, but a great significance to passion. Sometimes it's anger, but more so like passion or love. And black is usually more associated with more like darker themes and tones, and considering that her backstory is more like around her mom and how she died and everything, I do like the significance of this. I like the boots. I genuinely like, I like how she doesn't wear like high heels or anything. Like, no, like when you're in the field and everything, what do you want? You want shoe wear that doesn't necessarily like, it doesn't get in the way of combat, but in the same time, you also want something that can be fashionable in this sense. I think this is a pretty damn good design, honestly. Oh, I guess we do have one more. See, the thing about this is, like, this is going for one specific design. I don't really know how much more I can say about it. Hyousetsu Teikoku, which is the Studio Shaft anime. It's relatively, like, a lot of what I had to say, pretty much relatively the same. I do kind of like how the colors pop out a little more in this. The detail on the legs is, like, black stockings with, like, it's sort of like a red gradient going down to the feet. I genuinely think that's a good attention to detail. Like, you still have, like, the red, but more closer to the actual hood, where you got all these bright red colors in, like, it fades to black. I think that's a fantastic design choice. Let's talk about the 3D designs. I feel like the colors kind of get a little more, like, lost in translation compared to the 2D. Like, let's take a look at the 2D again. Like, you could tell there's a little more, like, pop to the colors. You can definitely tell there's a little more going under the hood. Like, definitely. Like, there's a lot more vibrancy to the colors that I feel genuinely get expressed a lot more in the 2D medium. The 3D model, I feel you kind of lose that. It's still not a bad design, but this was them still sort of, like, playing around with making, like, a whole 3D animated show. So they were still kind of working around a lot of the kinks, and it was pretty rough around the edges. Like, I remember Volume 1 being pretty rough, honestly, in terms of animation. Don't get me wrong. I think it still holds, even in 3D. I gotta get this design, like, in 2D a 10. In 3D, I gotta give it a 9. I think that's fair, because it's just, like, again, it's not necessarily that the design is bad in 3D, but I feel like a lot of that vibrancy, a lot of those like different like reds and different hues of reds that they were working with kind of get lost in translation, a little bit lost when it comes to the 2D. So yeah, 2D design, a lot of great colors. A lot of great use of the colors regarding red and black and silver. 3D, it's genuinely like it loses a lot of the vibrancy, which later on in this list I wouldn't be surprised looking more into the details if that happens. There's one design I know in particular I am going to be getting on regarding the vibrancy. Okay, so other than that, we have the pajama design, which only showed up a couple of times. Earlier, I was like, I'm gonna talk about like the whole functionality regarding combat and everything, but it's kind of hard to do that when you have all these different little designs for other activities and whatnot, such as pajamas. It's cute. You know, it still keeps the motif of black and red and gray and or white. So, yeah, it's there. It's just a cute little design, so, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say. It's just, it's a cute little design. Honestly, I'll give it a 9. I don't really have too much of a problem with that. There's also the school design. I am tempted to put everybody on Team RWBY on here. Everybody in Team RWBY has this same design. The only key differences are certain things like the character's hair color. With RWBY, it is the hood. You know, I'm sure some other characters have some art details too, but it's just like the school design overall is just, it lacks any genuine like personality to me regarding the design as a whole. It's just school design. And like, it's not a bad design, but at the same time, it's like too samey across the board for me to really be like, okay, I can give this the benefit of the doubt or anything. If I were to show full body, like, some characters probably would have, like, other little details here or there, but relatively, like, the design in school is just kind of the same. They could have had, like, some significance regarding years. Just keeping it to anime, right? Certain animes that focus on schools will have characters wearing, like, certain adjustments to attires to signify, like, their year or their grade. Like, if you went with that, I think that would have been fun. But it's not bad, but I just think it's just, having something, like, just something, like, just this school design just being the same across the board for so many characters is just, it loses the personality. That's the thing I'm kind of focused on, is that it loses a bit of the personality. And it's a big thing I like with RWBY, is that the designs showcase personality. And I love that. It's a 6. It's a 6. It's not, I don't hate it, but I just wish it was doing more. Let's get into, like, Volume 2 with RWBY. I'm not too sure, honestly. That much white. It just feels a little... I think it loses a lot of the simplicity. I don't know, it tones down a lot of the red, if anything, for me. Okay, I do like, because I'm seeing it now, I do like the little added detail of, like, the rose underneath the dress, like, around the skirt. I think that's a nice detail. But the big part of why I like the Volume 1 design so much, especially when it comes to the legs and the waist, right, is that lack of, like, just inclusion of black with the end of the skirt really helps separate the legs from the top. And with the Volume 2 design, I feel like, again, I like the added, I think the added detail of a rose on the bottom of her dress. It's a nice, lovely design choice, but maybe it's this shot, but it just blends way too well in with her stockings. It's a 5 for me, unfortunately. The dress from the dance. This isn't bad. It isn't really bad, but it's red. But that's, I don't know, it's kind of it for me. I do like sort of like the tone and overall like color of the dress in comparison to her skin tone, because that's a big thing too. Skin tone actually does play a big part in regards to like actual character design. It's not bad. Like, the problem with some of these earlier designs regarding RWBY is that they were very situational, in that they were just like, they were made for certain episodes or certain moments and certain events, and they don't bring them back. It's a 6. It's a 6 on my end, honestly. I think this is a fine design. Like the pajamas she had on before, it's sort of a major contrast. The pajamas here are a little more, like, dreary. They're a little more darker. and it kind of adds to the whole atmosphere and everything. I don't know. I like the sort of muted polka dot aesthetic with a white accent on the top. It's nice. It's nice. Honestly, I'm just tempted to give this a 7. We have volumes 4 through 6. Call me crazy, but, and hear me out, it's not terrible, but there are problems. I think in theory, this design, it has something going on here. I think regarding like sort of the inclusion of like white or silver, they do a better job at it with incorporating it more around the arms. 2D I think has a lot more color to it that I honestly respect. I also like the little added details and whatnot, like the rose detail on the stockings. I think that's nice. Also them being tattered, like there being more tatters to this, I think is good. I like it. I have to question, why are there so many belts? Like, let's get a close-up on this. Like, 3 belts already, 1 on her right arm and 2 on her left arm. The white dress top, it covers the top, but it's not covering the chest area. It's not covering, like, the cleavage. It's just covering her shoulders, her arms, and her neck. And that's it. And regarding, like, the dress itself, the top, why is it held by a belt? Okay, like the cuffs, for instance, I can handle. The cuffs are perfectly fine. Because, hey, you're fighting and everything. You don't want, like, loose clothing to get in the way. I get it. That's fine. But why go with the belts on the dress top? Why the fuck do the boots have so many belts? Like, genuinely. No, you know, I think what happened? Genuinely. And I think this happens down the road, too. Because RWBY was an annual release show that came out every year, what I think happened was that they needed new concept art, they needed new redesigns for the characters. They contacted like an artist in particular, and the artist drew up some concepts, and then they went with they looked over a design in less than 3 seconds and went, this one's cool, go with it. Because that's what it feels like. This falls into what I like to call the 3-second design problem. You look at a design for less than 3 seconds, it looks cool, it looks awesome. But you look at it for more than 3 seconds, you really start to notice the issues. You really start to notice the problems. There's something here I like regarding it, but there's so many pieces scattered throughout where it's just like, I look at this and I'm like, this is rough. Like, and here's the thing, it's just like, genuinely, I don't hate it. But there's just so many problems with it. Alright, that's the 2D design. Let's see about the 3D. It doesn't get better in 3D. I was talking about this, how, like, I like the top, how they restrict more of the white to the arms and everything, but why does the chest have to be uncovered? And this is just like, it doesn't translate well in 3D to me. Like, you could tell the difference between the skin tone and the actual cloth. Like, that's clearly a gray. This, I don't know, maybe it's the lighting, but in this one, but this is just like, it's kind of hard to tell this is an actual, like, part of her dress. Yeah, the line here under her chin. I'm going to assume, like, that's supposed to be, like, a zipper, but it's just so... I don't really know what to take from it. It's... 2D, I will give a 5, because I like the colors genuinely a lot more. But 3D, it's a 4. It's a 4. Her Elysian design from volumes 7 to 9. I was trying to be in defense of, like, the volume 4 design. Because there was, like, something I genuinely, like, I liked a little more about it. But this design, I think, is a little... Oh, boy. Why the hell are there so many belts? What is with the belts on the gloves? Also, why are they fingerless? Okay, this design's supposed to be, like, for, like, more of a colder tundra-esque environment. Okay. If you're gonna go with, like, fingerless gloves... Like, don't have them be this fucking long. Also, why are there belts strapped to them? What is the infatuation with belts? There's a belt on her skirt. Why? And there's like a... even know what this is underneath the skirt? Stockings and then boots. Relatively the same color. Boots tied with belts. Why is this so fascinated with belts? Like, what is the process here? Hair is fine. I don't have much of a problem with hair. I've seen the show, so I just will say the colors here genuinely are a lot better than the show. I will say that. So much so that I genuinely do associate her with, like, actual red in this. I think it's fine. And the white, you know, there's still white on her, but it's a little more subdued in 2D. 2D, I think, color-wise, it gets points for that, but design-wise, it's a 3. It really is. I'll look at the design now for the 3D. If it genuinely, like, if I have more words to say about it, the 3D is going to be a 3, and the 2D is going to be a 4. Let's talk about this. Why with the belts? This is just... I just... What is with the fascination in belts? The colors in the actual official art, right, are actually not done justice. Because I remember looking at this design throughout the show and going, like, the red doesn't really... It doesn't really hit. Like, it feels genuinely downplayed, because there's all these browns and the white and everything. It's just like... all these other colors are just getting in the way of the red and black. Like, you've really drawn away from the actual black, which was a big part of what I liked about her design. You went away from that in place of more of these, like, whites and browns, and I just feel like this whole design just feels cluttered. Like, a more is better approach, and I hate it. I don't like it. Much like with the Volume 4 design, the colors in this are not done justice. The 2D design has, like, all this really good, like, choice of colors and everything. I love it. This doesn't have it. Like, it doesn't matter whether or not it's, like, in a colder environment or a warmer environment. This doesn't have that flair. This doesn't give those colors justice to me. 3D, it's a 3. 2D, it's a 4. Let's talk about the DC one, because, I feel like I want to talk about this. Yeah, what have they done? I hate this. Why the fuck is her cape, like, just 2 streamers or whatever the fuck? I can say what I will about the functionality of, like, you know, just wearing a hood with as a cape and everything, but it was not just part of her identity, it was a good design choice. And you just kind of remove that for, by all accounts, what I think is to be, like, a really piss-poor Superman knockoff. And, like, before anyone says it, no, like, this doesn't, like, DC is not any better regarding some of its designs. DC has some pretty piss-poor designs a lot of the times, don't get me wrong. DC is not exempt from criticism, but, yeah, this is... I hate this. I really do. Like, some of the earlier designs, genuinely, what I liked was, it was, like, there was this simple colors, and it had genuine personality, and it was just, it really helping it make more of a personality. This feels like your personality is you're copying somebody. I'm just gonna be flat, I haven't seen this film, and I don't intend to, but it really feels like you're just copying superheroes like Superman. It really just feels like it. I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna be like, well, this, and that, there's this reason, like some sci-fi reason, there's some hallucinogen, there's some illusionary, magic-y, whatever the fuck going on. Logic and reasons don't excuse criticism. I'm just gonna say that right now. This is a nitpick, but her hair is done really bad in this. I don't like her hair in this. I don't like the small little, like, the small little tail. It's not a great design. I don't like this design at all. This is a 1. Like, I'm not even going to fight this. This is a 1. Like, colors, I don't mind too much because they are very... I think they're more in theme with what RWBY has been going with. But this is poor execution. one last one before we move on to Weiss. So this is RWBY. Relatively, I mean, I think some of the problems I had with some of the other designs where it felt like it more and more as we went down the line with Volume 4 and the Volume 7 designs, they felt like they were getting more cluttered and clumped up and just like not really major focus in terms of color. This feels like a balance where it feels somewhat cluttered, but the use of coloring, the use of like the placement of certain colors too, feel genuinely like it feels pleasing on the eyes. I wouldn't say this is my favorite though. If I showed this to somebody, just like someone would say like, dude, that looks like you just put on so many layers and just didn't know what to wear. It does have personality, I will say that. It's a little bit crowded, but the colors are used, I think, in the right ways. Honestly, in the show, it does lose a little bit of the colors, but I think that's very much in the case of like lighting and shading. It's just fine. I mean, contextually speaking, it makes sense. Hey, you're in an environment where there's a bunch of snow and it's cold everywhere. Makes sense. Like, again, it's not a bad design. It's not my favorite. And I genuinely, after seeing a bunch of the other designs, I think I like it a lot. It's an 8. It's an 8. Volume 1 design is peak. Volume 1 design is peak. Everything else kind of goes majorly down the drain and is significantly worse in my mind, except for her Hyousetsu Teikoku outfit, which, yeah, it's a little cluttered, but it looks relatively nice.